What if wellness wasn't something to perfect, but something to notice? What if the small everyday moments we often overlook were quietly offering us wisdom, comfort, even joy? Today's conversation is about reimagining wellness through stories, humor, creativity, and the gentle lessons life gives offering. If we were willing to listen. Welcome to Wellness Reimagined, where we explore fresh, integrative ways of living well emotionally, creatively, and wholeheartedly. I'm your host, Shreya, and today I'm joined by Lorie Kleiner Eckert, author, artist, and long-time motivational speaker whose newest book, High on Life, celebrates slice of life stories filled with insights, warmth, and simple takeaways for everyday living. In this episode, we explore how storytelling becomes a wellness practice and how motivation doesn't have to be loud to be deeply life changing. Welcome, Lori. I'm honored to have you on my show.
Well, thank you so much, Trey. I am also very happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Lori, I'm curious how your life feels like a celebration of ordinary moments. What was stirring in you that made now the right time to gather these stories and share them in this way?
Yeah, I have been sharing life stories for a very long time. When I worked as a motivational speaker, I illustrated my talk with quilts that I had created that had words and symbols pieced into the design. And as I showed the quilts as my visual aids, and this was to all kinds of groups, not to quilt groups, this was to church groups and parent teacher organizations and libraries and so forth. As I told the stories behind my quilt, I hoped that others could glean life lessons from them. So I've always done this. So I've always celebrated the little moments of life as my art form. So, in my writing, I have 5 books in print. This new one, High on Life, just came out, but it's always the same thing. It's telling the stories of my life, hoping others can glean life lessons. So it is a celebration of life. There is one story, for instance, in High on Life called 30 Reasons to Be Grateful at My Granddaughter's Soccer Game. And one of the reasons to be grateful was that another grandma who was there at the game had the shirt that she was wearing was inside out. And I was just so grateful that that wasn't me, because you can easily do something like that in life. So it's such a silly little thing, but it's true. I was grateful for that, and I was grateful for the fact that it was a hot day and none of the kids passed out, and I was grateful for the fact that my son-in-law, uh, had the kind of life that allowed him to be a coach for my granddaughter, and on and on and on. 30 reasons to be grateful right there at a soccer game. How, on the one hand, silly is that? And on the other hand, what a beautiful celebration of life and, of the quiet moments of life, really.
Yes. I think there is something so powerful about honoring life as it is messy, meaningful, and full of small revelations. And al- also, many people think motivation has to be dramatic or transformational. From your experience as a writer and a speaker, what do you often misunderstand about what truly inspires change?
Oh, what inspires change? Well, I think, to me, um, life pretty much just happens. So you what inspires change is that something has happened. And one of the main stories in High on Life is all, a personal reinvention or how to. And so people do think that it's the big moments in life, that inspire change. But we reinvent ourselves repeatedly. So if you graduate from high school, if you graduate from college, if you move to a new city, if you get married, if you get divorced, if you go to college and get a degree, all of these things are personal reinventions. And all of these things are really rather mundane. People do this all the time, go to school and graduate, get married, have children, all of these things. But all of that is change. And we have to handle it. And it's not as easy as we like to believe. So there was a Broadway musical called Avenues Q, and the opening line of the play was, "Oh my gosh, I just got a bachelor's degree in English." And the second line was, "What do you do? Bachelor's degree in English." So here, change was inspired by this good thing that happened, a college education, a degree, but it still wasn't clear where you're going from there. So you still need to take what life just handed you, this degree. Well, it didn't hand it to you. You work hard for that degree, but sometimes it just hands it to you. There's a death in the family or there's an illness that you can or whatever. And all of these things require us, in my opinion, to reinvent ourselves so that all of that inspires change. And ho- how what back to when I was making the quilts with words and symbols pieced into the design, I made a quilt that said change is, period. And it had a period on the quilt. And the design that was around the words was a quilt, block that quilters call ocean waves because the ocean waves roll out and roll in, and they roll out and they roll in, and they change, and they change, and they change. It's not good or bad, it just is. And so just living your life is what inspires change, but I guess you have to be flexible because you could say, I don't know what, if, you could choose to ignore something that's happened to you and pretend it didn't happen, but it has happened, say, a relationship breakup or something like that. You have no choice, in my opinion, but to move on and to, and all of that inspires change.
Yeah, yes. That idea that motivation can be gentle, familiar, and even playful really redefines what growth can look like. And also, you find lessons in quills, children's songs, daily observation. Why do you think we are wired to learn so deeply through stories rather than instructions?
Um, yeah, I don't know that everybody is wired to learn from everything, but I certainly am. And, for instance, you mentioned, children's songs, for instance. So how there's just the simplest song, "Row, row, row your boat." But that song says, "Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream." And then because you're going gently down the stream as opposed to fighting the current, then it's merrily, 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 life is but a dream. So right there in a children's song, there is some great motivation for how to live your life. And it is very playful, but um, yeah, so he, mm, I once saw a sign on an empty lot that said opportunity. And it was trying to sell you on buying this piece of land to build a business, I suppose. But I saw that at a time in my life when I was discouraged. It was right when I was getting divorced after a 21-year marriage. And I didn't really know what opportunities existed for me. But there on that sign, it was like, well, gee, if this hunk of land has opportunity waiting for it, so must I. So I don't think other people are like this, but I really see wisdom. I see little gems like that everywhere I look. So, again, children's songs, whatever, movies that I see, all of them are waiting to teach me something. So I tell a story in High on Life about life lessons that you would learn at the gym. And most people think at the gym you're learning how to do squats and how to lift weights and how to do exercises. But the lesson that I'm talking about, because for me, I learn lessons, life lessons everywhere I go, is that the personal trainer that I've worked with always has me turn in a diary of what I have eaten for the past week since I saw him. And one day I came in and I said, I really did good yesterday because I went to a birthday party and I did not eat the cake because I'm thinking cake is empty calories and, not good for you. And he said, "You failed. You're not on a diet, you're living life, and when you're living life and you go to a birthday party, you eat the cake." So, by the same token, in the United States, we go each state has a fair, a county fair in the summertime or a state fair, and there's all kinds of junk food, hot dogs covered in cornmeal and fried, Twinkies, which is a little snack cake, dipped in another batter and deep fried, Oreos fried, all kinds of crazy things fried. And one of them I like is just a fried dough called a funnel cake. And by the same token, like when you go to a birthday party, you have to eat the cake. When you go to the state fair, yappy junk food. That isn't breaking a diet, that's living life. So, isn't it so I see these lessons everywhere I go. I don't think anyone else probably has had that as a takeaway from, going to the gym, that of course, you're taking care of yourself. Of course, that's a big part of life is taking care of yourself, but this is a part of taking care of yourself is having fun too. And so, yeah, I just find life lessons everywhere, just absolutely and I'm motivated by it all, and that kind of thing is like Hansel and Gretel, it's little cookie crumbs leading me on the way to a rich and full life.
Yes. I think it feels like stories bypass resistance. They meet us where we are instead of telling us where we should be. And was how have you seen these small story based insights show up in people's real lives, whether readers, audiences, or even within your own family?
Well, I think for other people, I would encourage other people to be in touch with the stories of their life, to honor the stories of their life, and, one of the ways to that is to write in a journal. So, there's all I can do with the journal. One thing is to use it to, remember fun times. I once was wearing an animal print shirt when my grandson was little and he came in the door and he said to his mother, "Why is Marmal's my grandma name, why is Marmal dressed like a giraffe?" So it was such a cute thing to say, but in the course of life, I have 10 grandchildren. They're gonna say lots of cute things. So if I don't write it down, I'm not gonna remember it. So that's one thing that people can do with a journal to remember their own stories in life. And a journal's also good if you have a problem so that you can, write down the pros and cons of what you might do, what choice you might make. And it's amazing to have it written down because if your decision was successful, you see why. And if your decision was not successful, you also see why, and you have a blueprint for doing it differently the next time. So I never think that I have cornered the market on wisdom. I think everybody in their life, just sees lessons everywhere they go, but they need to be tuned into it. So it's a really good thing to do to journal write. I just think it's wonderful. And there was a time when my father was ill and dying, and I was very close with him. And I just didn't feel like any of my friends got what I was going through. They seemed to say weird things to me, but I wrote in a journal about it. And when I look back over the journal, I see that it helped me make big decisions like hospice care and stuff like that. But it helped me process my thoughts. And also, since I'm one to write down good things that happened, there really were lots of things that my friends did during that period that I didn't quite recognize as being wonderful till after the fact, you know? So then there in my journal was all of this wonderful stuff that people had done. So really think that the stories of our life are amazing and important, and I hope that's what I model as a, professional speaker and as a writer and as a blogger. Um, but I I often get up when I was the motivational speaker, I didn't want people to think that I thought I knew it all because I don't believe that at all. And so I quoted Richard Bach, who's the author who wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull. And he said, "We tend to teach best that which we most need to learn." So as I'm up in front of my audience, when I'm a speaker or when I'm writing to my audience, when I'm a blogger or a author of a book, I am trying to learn the very things that I'm writing about. That's why I'm writing about them, because I'm trying to figure it out. And again, I have uncornered the market on this. So you too, you are trying to figure out, you have beautiful life lessons everywhere you look. I hope you see them and I hope you with those that you love, and I hope your audience does too. That's my wish is that High Life motivates others to record the stories of their life.
Yes, I think that ripple effect when one simple insight changes how someone meets their days, such a quiet form of wellness. And also when life feels heavy, loss, change, or simply exhaustion, how do you personally return to that go with the flow mindset you so beautifully shared?
Yeah, so yes, there really I am the first one to tell you that life can be difficult, and I feel like I'm a cheerleader leader saying life can be difficult, but you can do it. So, when life feels heavy, to me, that's when I'm in one of those painful reinventions. You know, some of these personal reinventions are good, like when you get the college degree or when you get married, but some of them are painful, like when you get divorced or like when you get fired from a job. So when life feels heavy, but even in the good times too, I have a two-step program for personal reinvention. So this is what you need to do when life feels heavy so that you can get back to the place where you're going with the flow. And since when life feels heavy, it's difficult to motivate yourself. Then I make my method for personal reinvention very, very simple. It only hit 2 steps. The first step is to have a healthy routine. So this means to go to bed at a regular time, wake up at a regular time, eat well, make sure you get out of bed and get dressed every day. Because when you're in one of those places where life feels heavy, you just really wanna stay in bed with the blankets over your head, and you can't do that. So step 1 is to have a healthy routine, whatever that is for you, and step 2 is to take 1 step a day, just 1 step a day in a new direction. So, again, if you are in a really bad way, if life is really just a weight around your neck, you feel it pressing down on your heart, it's hard to take one step, but just one. And I like to suggest to people that they have a journal that they write in. And every day they need to listen, write down the date and they need to write down the one thing they did to change their life. So I remember when I was experiencing empty nest syndrome when all of my children had left home. And it really did, Shreya, feel like a weight on my heart. It just felt like it was it should do one step a day. And one step was very simple. It was I made a phone call, one phone call to an agency that was looking for volunteers. And that's all I did, and then the next day, I made another phone call to another agency that was looking for volunteers, and just by making one phone call a day for about 5 days, I had lined up all kinds of meaningful things to do. And all it took was one step a day. Now, if you're in a happy reinvention, you just got the college degree, so this is what life is feeling great, you still have to move forward. So maybe in a happy reinvention, maybe you set a timer for 5 minutes each day and do stuff. So maybe you can make 3 phone calls, or maybe you can send out an email letter to a couple of people to try and move in the direction you're trying to go. But for me, just getting in motion, getting my rear end gear, is the best way to go with the flow. I think in go with the flow, the important word is go. Um, that you have to be active, that you're not gonna do this. It's not gonna happen to you. You and, yeah, I think that's important. I'm a friend of mine told me that there are 3 stages in life as we age. So there's the go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years. So again, going is very important to me. And even as a baby boomer who's getting up there in age, uh, going is very important. And on my own personal do one something a day to change lot, or my own healthy routine is that I have to go someplace every day. I have to leave the house because I'm a homebody and that's good. I love being home. I'm an introvert. I'm a writer. But you can get too much of that, and so I have to go out. That's not hard to do. That means go to the grocery store, go to the drugstore, or take a walk around the block, and so, yes, I think when life feels heavy, it's a very, in some ways, easy thing to fix. It's a two-letter word, "go." So you'll be going with the flow again. I think that's really very helpful. I'm glad you used that, go in the flow terminology, go with the flow.
That's really, really beautiful. And thank you for sharing this with our audience. And for our listeners who want to explore higher life and connect with your writing, art, and upcoming work, where can they find you?
Oh, yeah, thank you for asking. Well, so my name is Lorie Kleiner Eckert, and that's where I am all over the internet. So if you wanna find me on Facebook or on Pinterest or on, Twitter, now called X, or in Instagram, look for Lorie Kleiner Eckert. But if you just Google my website is loriekleinereckert.com, and that'll take you all kinds of places. For instance, I even have an Etsy shop, so these quilts with words, I sell them printed out on coffee mugs and sweatshirts and tote bags and stuff like that. So, but if you look for Lorie Kleiner Eckert anywhere, on Amazon, on any bookstore you go to, you will also find my books, and, yeah, easy to find as long as you remember the Lorie Kleiner Eckert part.
Yes, and I will make sure to attach all these details and links below so that the listeners can find it easily and get in touch with you. And to my listeners, there is a reflection question for you. What small moment in your life right now might be offering you a lesson if you paused long enough to hear it. And always remember, wellness doesn't always come from doing more. It often comes from noticing more and choosing joy where we already stand. And thank you, Lori, for reminding us that wisdom can live in stories, songs, and even in ice cream moments. And for my listeners, may today inspire you to do a little more of what brings you joy and a little less of what doesn't. This is Wellness Reimagined, and until next time, keep listening to life. It's always speaking. And hit the follow button and do not forget to share your thoughts because your ears deserve premium content. Thank you.